It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, hope you're doing all right. We got a busy show scheduled for you today, or do we? I don't know, man. It's a slow day in boxing. Today we're going to let the viewers and the listeners drive the show. So we got some news to talk about. We're going to open up the phone lines, and we're going to roll with you, man. Because if you're not watching, if there's nothing to talk about, hey, I'd take a half a day. You know what I mean? Emily Harney's scheduled to join us. But before we get started, today's show is being brought to you in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York, and their next boxing event, which is taking place February 20th. It's the heavyweight Boxino tournament, and we're going to give you some tickets. Well, you got to earn them, okay? So you got to get the trivia question right that nobody's gotten. And I gave a really big hint yesterday, but today will be a guaranteed I will have a winner tomorrow, because if not, you guys ain't listening to the question. Make sure you get yourself some tickets if you don't win them by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and clicking on the fight poster, which is right there on the right-hand side. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by the April 3rd event in Sarasota, Florida. China Smith, the WBF North American heavyweight champion, returns to the ring, and we want you to be there. Now, get yourself some tickets by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and clicking on the fight poster that says April 3rd. Now, listen, if you can't make it to beautiful Sarasota, Florida on April 3rd, which I highly recommend, fear not, because you can watch the whole show from start to finish right here on BillyCBoxing.com. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by the Southern Gourmet Spice Company. If you're looking for a unique spice, look no further than the Southern Gourmet Spice Company. Now, you can check them out, www.southerngourmetspice.com. Coming up in a little bit, we got some comments from Amir Khan. We got an update on Carl Froch, Chris Eubank, and Dmitry Chudinov. We'll talk about that. How about junior lightweight champ Orlando Salido and his next fight? That's set. We'll chat about that. A couple other fights, including a guy that I call Paul Spada Frauda, because, well, I'll get to that in a little bit. If we got some time, I'll start showing you some of the fights that we're going to be talking about on this week's Billy C Challenge. And speaking of Billy C Challenge, I have not updated the standings yet, just have not had a chance to get to it. I did update the TV rankings, with the exception of the actual rankings, how I broke it down and stuff like that. That will be updated tomorrow. So, yeah, it's taken me a little bit to get caught up. And speaking of tomorrow, don't forget to join us. Alex Pali and myself will be talking about Packy McFarland during our Blast from the Past segment. And later in the week, on Thursday, my man, Boxing Hall of Famer and the New Jersey State Athletic Commissioner, Larry Hazard, will join us. And Dax Khan will give his boxing weekend roundup along with his top 3 picks of the week, and I hope he slips in 4 this week and talks about the 4 fights that we're going to be watching on the Boxino tournament for the junior middleweight division. So maybe he'll slip us those. But anyway, let's get started right now. By the way, the phone line is open today because I want you guys to drive the show. It's a real slow day in boxing. And rather than just talk about the same thing over and over and over, I'll listen to you. But I do have one thought for you. A lot of people have been emailing me and talking to me about, the fight that we all want to see. My question is this, as time goes on, the longer it stretches out without being announced, and of course I'm talking about Manny Pacquiao against Floyd Mayweather, my question to you is this: if the fight doesn't get made, especially if it doesn't get made for May 2nd of this year, will you boycott Floyd's next fight? Because we all know that it most likely would be Miguel Cotto or even Amir Khan. I can't see it being anyone else, but my question still remains: would you boycott the fight? Are you willing to make a stand for the sport of boxing and for your wallet? If Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather do not fight, will you boycott Floyd Mayweather? And for that matter, would you boycott Manny Pacquiao? Let's be real. It takes two to tango. My first email, this one's from Jerry from Syracuse. All right. He says, "Hey Billy C, I've been listening to your show for the past 7 years. I'm a premium subscriber, and I just want to tell you that you are still the best, by far, boxing show on the planet." Well, thank you, Jerry. He also goes on to say, "But I do have a question." I love it when these guys, kind of pat you on the back first, and then they slip in the question. He says, "Hey, do you like the tournaments for boxing, and why?" That's a good question, Jerry. Thanks for the email. Hey, that's a good question. Thanks for the email. Got to take a break. No. Hey, I tell you one thing. I have an email from Jesse, and I don't know how. Normally, I like to get his first, but my man Jerry, do you like the tournaments for boxing, and why? You want to know something? I love the tournaments for boxing, and you know what the main reason why I like? Because when a fighter signs up for a tournament, they have all the names of the fighters that are part of the tournament, right? And, they win a fight, they're going to have to fight somebody else. There's virtually, unless you're scared or you don't want to fight anybody that's in the tournament, you won't get in it, right? So what I like about these tournaments is that the fighters that choose to get involved are basically, agreeing that they'll fight whoever they get put in front of. And to me, that's what boxing is all about. We were talking about it in depth yesterday about, how these fighters, really pick and choose. And we were referring to Al Heyman and some of the moves that he made. So, yeah, I love the tournaments. I think a lot of you must love the tournaments, too, because based on the success of what's been taking place with the tournaments, we're getting more. And yesterday, if you missed the segment with Melissa Smith, one of the things that I talked about during my meetings down in Sarasota, Florida last week was the potential of a female boxing tournament. So we're looking forward to that. But anyway, listen, I'm going to take a short break. I know we started a little late, but I got to take the break at these times so we can catch up to where we're supposed to be. I'll be back in 2.
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Roselli Enterprises. Roselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all: dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flow boys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Roselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RoselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell him Billy C sent ya.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the IBO computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at iboboxing.com.
As a young boy, all Billy C. dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And I crack myself up sometimes. We're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. It was the stupidest joke, right? And this guy told it to me about 30 years ago. Every time, I don't know why it just popped into my head, but every time I think of it, I find it pretty funny. Bottom line is this horse walks into a bar, right? Bartender says, "Hey, why the long face?" Get it? Horse, long face. Come on, man. Anyway, this email is from Jesse. He says, "Hey, Billy, I know it's stupid, but I don't know. It's just still funny to me. I don't know why. Hey, Billy C, what's your thoughts on Marv Albert announcing boxing on NBC with Sugar Ray Leonard?" I really don't give a crap. I've always liked Sugar Ray Leonard. And Marv Albert, I think of Marv Albert, I think of basketball. Sorry, So, I don't care one way or another, as long as it's not Ronaldo. He's the worst. Jesse says, "Hey, Billy C, what's your thoughts on Leo Santa Cruz's buyout from Golden Boy and Al Heyman? Where will he go now?" Down the tubes, because Al Heyman's motto for all his fighters is clearly this: fight no one and try to make as much money as you can. Listen, yesterday I was saying about Al Heyman and what I like about what he's doing with the TV stuff. I think it's really good for the sport. But his blueprint for his fighters is destroys the sport. I can't see, and the other side of the coin is the fights that are tentatively scheduled for his network that's coming up, or not his network, but his boxing series, seem good on paper. So I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. Leo Santa Cruz wanted to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux, and I guess that fight's not going to happen. Mainly because of Top Rank, probably. I don't know. Anyway, yesterday we were talking about the could boxing survive with 8 divisions, and I asked you guys to email me what your thoughts were on that, and we're still looking for emails on that. I guess maybe no news is bad news. I don't know. Phone line is open. We're scheduled to have Emily Harney join us in a few minutes. So if you have a quick thought, give us a call. Otherwise, make sure you call in after the Emily Harney segment, because if you don't call, I'm gonna call it a half a day. That's what I'm gonna do. Chris Avelos is fighting Carl Frampton at the end of the month on February 28th. And, according to his team, he's been working really hard, and they claim that he's going to win this fight. Avelos is only 25 years old. He's got 27 professional fights, 25 wins, 2 losses, with 19 of his W's coming by knockout. And, of course, Carl Frampton undefeated at 19-0. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. A couple of weeks ago when... speaking of Al Heyman, when he announced that he was going to be doing his second boxing series, the Premier Boxing Champions, is what they call, which is kind of an oxymoron, right? I mean, here this guy has so far, until this first fight card goes off, so far all of the fighters that seem to sign with Al Heyman do anything but fight premier fights, so it's kind of an oxymoron that he calls his series Premier Boxing Champions, no less. Anyway, when he announced that he was going to be going on Spike TV, they said that they didn't have a venue yet. Well, it was announced last week. I never got a chance to mention it. The March 13th fight card that's going to feature Josito Lopez, 33-6 with 19 knockouts, going against Andre Berto, 29-3 with 22 knockouts, was announced that it's taking place at the Citizens Bank Arena in Ontario, California. So a little FYI for you there. I love the fight. I really do. Josito Lopez is a guy that I absolutely love watching. My only hang-up is that they keep putting him in these fights that, against bigger beast guys like Andre the Beast Berto. So we'll have to wait and see. They had the press conference last week, almost a week ago, and I never got to give you the quotes on Vladimir Klitschko and Bryant Jennings. Yesterday my question of the day was, can Jennings beat Vladimir Klitschko? A lot of people don't think so. But I will say this, Bryant Jennings is a fighter that I actually like. I like his path to this fight, and I kind of like his style. I was talking the other day, I think with Dax, and we were talking about, definitely with Dax, we were talking about fighters and these big guys, this big generation, and specifically Klitschko and Lennox Lewis, and how, realistically, I go back and forth with, would the old-timers have beaten these guys? And, it comes down to the main question, are they talented enough, or are they just too big to have beaten the Jack Dempseys and the Rocky Marcianos and even the Mike Tysons, and all these world champions of yesteryear? And, I could make an argument for both sides, but this is going to be another one of those cases. Bryant Jennings, if you saw the photos and the difference in size, I mean, it literally looks like some high school kid is, going to fight a kindergartner, I mean, the size difference looked that big. It looked like, you remember when you played Punch-Out, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and you were Little Joe, and you're fighting Soda Popkinski? That's what it looked like. Nonetheless, Vladimir Klitschko said, let us, Bryant and me, entertain you on April 25th here in, he said this at the press conference, here in New York City at Madison Square Garden. I see how Bryant Jennings acts. I see how he walks. I see how he shakes hands. I see how he speaks. He has all the qualities of Rocky Balboa from Philadelphia. Thank you to HBO. Eventually you believed in me, which incidentally is such a subliminal cut on HBO, isn't it? He says, I'm back on your network, and I'm happy about it. When he was asked about Jennings choosing to fight him rather than Deontay Wilder, who Jennings had earned a mandatory shot against, Klitschko said, did he actually choose me because he wanted to fight the strongest opponent or the weakest? Am I the strongest or am I the weakest? As a champion, of course, I have to say I'm the bad man. I'm the baddest man on the planet in boxing. He looked that way in his last fight. And if he fights the same way that he fought in his last fight against Kubrat Pulev, and he lands a couple of solid shots on Bryant Jennings, it's definitely going to be bye-bye Jennings. Like, as in, he's going to be knocked into the third or fourth row. But we'll wait and see. I kind of do like Jennings' style. He's up in the face of fighters sometimes. He's always in good condition. It's going to be interesting to see which version of Klitschko comes. As far as Bryant Jennings is concerned, he says, on April 25th, history is going to be made. It's definitely going to be made, and it's going to be made by me. They ask me what the fight outcome will be, and I always say it's going to end in a knockout. It's going to be either him or me. One of us has to lose, but guess what? I don't think it's going to be me. And Gary Shaw, who is basically a dirty, rotten scoundrel, says, for the record, Jennings is no Shannon Briggs. I can't stand Gary Shaw. I think he's a scum, but I have to agree with him on that one. So anyway, that's some news there. And one last thing that I wanted to mention before I take a break and we get Emily Harney on the line. Amir Khan claims that he honestly feels, and this is his quote, "I honestly feel that the fight between Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather will never happen." He says, "I spoke to Manny Pacquiao, and obviously we continue to speak with Mayweather and his team. I can't really see the fight happening. There's too much politics in that fight. You have different promotional teams, you have different management teams, and I don't think they're going to let the fight happen. If Mayweather-Pacquiao doesn't happen, Khan could find himself in the ring." Politically, there's no reason the fight shouldn't happen, to be honest with you. It's greed, and the thing is that in my opinion, when two fighters want to fight, just like Larry Hazard has said in the past, when two fighters truly want to fight, they go to their management teams and they say, make the fight, okay? I don't think Floyd really wants to fight Manny Pacquiao. I do believe that Manny Pacquiao really wants to fight Floyd. So in the large scope of things, I know we've beaten this worse than a dead horse. I think that the reason the fight's not happening is, I'm not going to say 100%, but I'm going to say 95% Floyd Mayweather's fault.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretcher, that man, I would think.
You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing.
And we're back. You were listening to our little break there, but you're listening to the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. Glad you could join us. Man, that was an abrupt end, huh? But joining us right now, Emily Harney. Quick, save the day. Hey, Emily, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
that was pretty quick, right? It's like, hey, Emily, I was getting all ready to, get into this. Emily, how much snow you got? Oh, you buried this, and that was, that was the end of that. But anyway, I don't know. It throws me off when that happens. But hey, let's talk about one of your favorite. Let's talk about. It's one of those days, Emily. Let me tell you.
It's not me either. It's all you guys.
It
all
is.
Mother Nature.
It is. It is really because what happened? We had some problems with the system before, and it was crazy. But anyway, one of your favorite fighters fought last week, and I wanted to get your thoughts on Sergio Mora. What do you think, man?
I'm glad to see that he still has a little bit in him. And granted, it was against a guy who, I want to say his record was padded per se, but he hadn't been, fighting the greatest clientele besides Glenn Tapia. But I think he was a good test the waters for Sergio. Either one of them, were a little awkward. They both had a difficult time with each other. We saw Sergio get knocked down. I think Sergio had the bit more of ring experience to be able to pull it off as closely as he did, especially after getting knocked down. But he got knocked down late in the fight, so he was, able to capture what he needed to earlier on. Han, everybody thought he was going to be a come-forward fighter, and he did that a little bit towards the end, but I think he was a little out of his element in there with Sergio. And both awkwardly fighting, too. So, you fight awkward, you fight an awkward fighter, you have an awkward fight.
Excuse me. I didn't think that Sergio Mora... I could have seen the fight going the other way, to be honest with you. Like you, one of the main reasons I'm not a big Sergio Mora fan is because he's boring as hell. He does this, he throws a punch or two and then runs and then holds and all of this stuff, and I really just didn't think that he did that well in that fight. He started off okay. But as the fight went on, I actually thought that Han won, was winning the second half of that fight.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that, but I think Sergio just did a little bit more to squeak it by. Not much, but we also know what you see ringside, what you see as a judge, and what you see on TV are usually three different things.
That fight, that card, kind of pointed out one of my arguments all the time. On that card, we had a fight that on paper looked really good. Ahmed Abalai fought Dustin Eckerd, and going into the fight, they were both undefeated. Abalai was 8-0 with 8 knockouts, and Eckerd was 10-0 with 7 knockouts. And then what we saw was just an annihilation of Eckerd. And, it really got me thinking, this is the misconception that a lot of fans have, that, especially the fans that look at an undefeated record and they assume that the fighter is good. And really, I think Eckerd could be a great poster child for, when you feed your fighter these less than stellar opponents and get him, kind of built up. Not that, this guy was 30-0. I'm not suggesting that. He's still a young fighter, got a lot to learn, and his career is, is near over. But my point is that you can't always judge a fighter by his O.
Right, absolutely.
And
I think we know that better than anybody, and that's one of the things, with this weekend's Boxino tournament is that, you can't really look at any of these guys as better than anyone else or who they're fighting, because if you look at their record and then you look at who these guys fought and you look at who they fought, you really got to kind of do your research on why they have that O, because it, like you said, 10-0, 8-0, that O doesn't stand for a lot always.
Speaking of the tournament, it was a great segue. I was asking it earlier. I was asked earlier. I can't even talk today either. I know. I do. That's what I need. That's what I need. But the tournament, someone asked me in an email, what I thought of these tournaments, and I actually like them because, and of course most people do, but what I really like about them is when you have this field of fighters, in this case, there's 8 fighters in each division here that are in these next 2 Boxino tournaments. You look at the field, and then these guys all sign on. And the reason I like it is because they're willing to face whoever's put in front of them rather than pick and choose and do, cherry pick the what we complain about, and I think it adds an excitement level that the fans get rewarded with, assuming that the fight is exciting. What's your thoughts on the tournaments, and do you think that it's kind of something that we're going to see more of, or do you think it's going to fizzle out?
I hope it's something we see more of. We're dealing with, a promoter or a promotionship with, Al Heyman, who's taken over 2 other television networks, per se, to put on shows with guys that we like to see fight, but we don't necessarily want to see fight each other in some respects. In some respects we do. But I feel like that's going to fizzle out faster, putting, all of your guys against each other and not fighting other people, versus something like Boxino, where it grabs guys that aren't known, aren't household names, aren't even always gym names, to put them and showcase them for at least 3 fights, for the next 3 months. So there's, a guarantee there. You're on ESPN too. There's, some notoriety right there, some publicity. You gotta get your give and take there, and that's what these guys I think are doing. They're giving up, saying, all right, no, I want to fight him and not him, to get this opportunity. It's a great opportunity. If you're a fighter that's a young fighter such as these guys, I don't know why you wouldn't take the opportunity to do it, because it puts you out there, puts you on television. It gives you those 3 fights. You're not worrying about what am I going to do next, where am I going, who am I going to fight. If you win, you keep moving forward, and even if you don't win, right? And if somebody falls out, so there's the possibility, that you could pull up Peter Manfredo and end up, continuing on if somebody falls out and you lose. It gives you a good name, regardless. Puts you right on television on ESPN2, where people's eyes are right now, because we know that the Friday Night Fight series only lasts so long in the season, if you will. So I think people enjoy it.
Yeah, Friday Night Fights always makes me laugh because we see Friday Night Fights on Wednesday, sometimes Saturdays, But no, I agree with you 100%. I like the tournament, and I actually like these other fighters because to me, not that they're better than some of the bigger names, but they're more of a fighter. They're more of throwback fighters because they are willing to sign on and fight anyone that's in this whole field of fighters. Now, you had mentioned Al Heyman, and I am torn with him all of a sudden. First of all, I don't like the philosophies that at least he's displayed up to now, okay, with his he doesn't want to risk anything. And we've really seen nothing less than stinkers with Al Heyman fighters up to this point. However, with these deals that he's doing with the networks, and a lot of people, may not understand, but he's bought his time. In other words, with ESPN, the Friday Night Fight series, that's ESPN. They're paying to get the fights that they want, similar to HBO and Showtime, etc. But on NBC and on Spike TV and even on the fight this weekend on CBS Sports, these networks are actually being paid for the time, that time slot to broadcast the boxing. So what it means is that Al Heyman is actually putting some pressure on, not that he's doing the CBS one, but he's putting pressure on himself and his investors to sell advertising, similar to what Rock Nation did on Fox Sports when they did their debut, where they have to succeed. There's a big nut for them to pay that $20 million for the season, plus he's boasting that his main event fighters are going to make $1 million paydays and stuff. So really the burden is on Al Heyman and his team to sell advertising, which I think is actually a good thing, Emily, because if it works, and he could actually bring boxing back to the way it should be and get corporate America back into supporting boxing, something they haven't done for 25 years. What's your thoughts on that, number one? And number two, do you think he's going to succeed?
I think you're right. I think he has a huge, set of shoes to fill, if you will, to make sure that, all of his investments pay out, or pay off, I should say, because you have guys who, whether they should be fighting each other or not, we're going to end up fighting somewhere. These might be a little bit more competitive fights. My problem is with the situation right now is I watched how things were handled with his announcement of this, NBC card. No boxing media was invited, unless you were like Dan Rafael or somebody really large. Nobody really knew about it. And when people were trying to, get, access to go to this press conference so they could write their story, what have you, they were told they couldn't be accommodated. My problem is that you have boxing media who has worked their asses off to be where they are, to do what they do, for what we've dealt with in the last, 15 years of boxing. And now you're going to shut those people out. And I think that's wrong. And so I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case when it comes to his fights. That they are going to look at the boxing media and say, you know what, we still need them. We can't rely on NBC. We can't rely on, mainstream media, because we know they don't cover boxing on a regular basis unless it's a Pacquiao-Mayweather fight or something ridiculous like that. So, that's where my gripe is with him. I think he's, in a way, doing the right thing because he's investing, but I want to see how he treats the people who have put it in this sport to put these fighters out there prior to him coming in. He needs the boxing media. So if you're going to shut them out, I think he's in for it in that respect. But he does have a lot of advertisement to sell. We'll see how the first fight goes. You think a lot of people will want to jump on board, but if you don't get good fights, you don't get good matchups, and people are bored, you're going to see that advertisement dwindle, and that's where he's going to fail. But he does have good fighters, so if he takes advantage of that and listens to the right people boxing-wise, matching people up, then I think he's got a gold mine in front of him.
Well, the ratings, that level sponsor, right, that's going to have to pay to get on there, I would assume, to at least make it, financially worthwhile for him and his team. They're what's gonna drive them is the ratings. If they come out of the gate and they actually have a couple of good fights, at least on paper, coming out of the gate with both the NBC and the Spike TV networks, as long as the ratings are good, you would assume that the sponsorships are going to continue. But once those ratings drop, so again, the pressure is going to be on Al Heyman and his team to maintain that excitement level, just like you said. Because if they don't, I think corporate USA will bail on them just as quickly as they did last time. And you make a really interesting point that I'm not so sure. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm not so sure the boxing community understands that the boxing media was pretty much blacklisted from those media events, announcements, I should say, for Al Heyman, which is ridiculous. I understand the thought process, that he's trying to get, the outside the boxing world to start showing an interest. But we need, in this sport, because it's a niche, you need those guys covering the fights. Without boxing, boxing regulars, especially people like you, covering the fights, taking the photos. If there was no Emily Harney out there, we might not be seeing these types of shots, right?
Well, yeah, no, I agree, and it sucks because, we worked so hard for, this time period where mainstream media has said, I'm not dealing with boxing anymore. You guys who have websites and small magazines and what have you, good luck to you. And now it's like, oh, well, we'll step back in because, maybe we'll step back in because Al Heyman's here. But, if they don't see a good fight, if the newspaper doesn't see it worthy, they're not going to send anybody. You'll get your AP, you'll get your Getty, but you also have to pay a price for that if you're a media outlet, So people aren't going to want to be spending, $100 here, $100 there for one image for Getty or whatever, because it's just not worth it to them. They can get somebody there, a lot cheaper. They get more images, what have you. But if they're being shunned, I think that's where you lose out. You know, it's rare that you see a piece in the New York Times. It's rare that you see a piece these days, even in the Boston Globe and the Boston Herald. I think we get them every other week, every couple weeks, you know, and it's just a little write-up. There are never any photos unless it's, you know, a UFC fight. But boxing-wise, hardly ever, you know, and that's the problem. So if he shuns these people out, and I don't think a lot of people realize that, if you look at the advertisement that they've done so far for it, it's all through their, you know, one website. Nobody else is picking it up. It's their photographers. It's their words. So I think that could really hurt them, you know, but if he wants to keep pouring money into it and he doesn't care if the boxing media is there and he's getting the advertisement from, you know, Geico or whoever, then he probably won't even turn around and care. It's the fighters that are going to hurt more than anything because they're going to lose that fan notoriety. Part of me feels like I'm dealing with a Contender again. Everything's kind of like their people. It's secretive. Nobody really knows boxing per se that they have in place that are doing the media things, the photos and what have you. I remember fighters that were on the Contender saying how frustrating it was to have people in your face when you're trying to train for a fight constantly, you know, oh, go back and do this. Oh, go back and do that. No, we didn't catch that. Can you go back and do this? And I wonder if that's happening based on what I'm seeing from, you know, the short clip videos that we're getting on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And that's going to be, in the long run, frustrating for the fighters because they can't do their job to the best of their ability. Yeah, they're getting good money. Yeah, they're getting, you know, some more notoriety because it's NBC and it's Al, but you know, in the long run, sometimes they get sick of that and they can't be who they want to be as a fighter.
Excellent point. It's like they're following the reality TV model, like you point out with the Contender, and you know, it can only go so far because the truth of the matter is if he's targeting non-boxing people and he's trying to get those fans like a crossover fan and assuming that the boxing people are just going to, you know, be following it, then he's really rolling the dice because it goes back to a conversation that you and I had right after the Rock Nation event that you were at. You know, yeah, it was great. You know, it was flashy. It was this, it was that. But the question still remains, you know, are those fans that packed the house that night going to continue to pack the house? And, you know, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because if he's targeting, you know, the executives that make the decisions to advertise and they're non-boxing people, you know, again, it's going to boil down to the numbers. And if he starts feeding these networks the garbage fights that he fed Showtime, I just don't think it's going to last because, you know, his money will run out because once the advertisers drop out, you know, it's not like he's got an unlimited cash, at least I don't think so, to keep it going, you know, just to keep it going. It has to turn a profit. I mean, he is a businessman, right?
Yeah, absolutely, you know, and he's got to be looking at that too, because you are putting in a huge investment. You're not starting out small like a lot of other promoters have, you know, and getting your ticket sellers. You're going all in. So, you know, this isn't just a tax write-off for him at all.
Hey, one last thing, and I'll let you get back to shoveling. You guys got hit hard, didn't you?
Yeah, we have more snow than I've ever seen in my life. And my dad used to work for the state. He said he's never seen snow like this, you know, in his days of plowing. So I don't mind snow. I'm just sick of it all at once. Spread it out.
I got stranded. I mean, it could have been a worse place. I got stranded, but I still couldn't get home, man, from, you know, Florida. But
rub it in.
but if it makes you feel any better, you know, I mean,
it was stuck at the airport, right?
Well, I couldn't get on. I couldn't even get to the airport. They just basically closed it. But then the ride home was horrific. So, but I wanted to ask you. Oh, geez, I forgot what I was going to ask you. We were talking about Al Heyman and all that stuff. I wanted to ask you, geez, I don't even remember now, Emily, because I started talking about the snow. But yeah, oh well. I guess it flew away.
If you remember, call me back. I'm around.
No, we were talking about Al Heyman, right? And before it was the Rock Nation. No, it wasn't Rock
Are
Nation.
you going to ask me what my prediction is, whether or not Manny's going to fight, Floyd this year?
Floyd,
that
Floyd,
everybody thinks is going to get announced again and again and again.
I don't know, but let me ask you this: Would you boycott it if it doesn't get announced? And do you think people would boycott it if Floyd comes out and says I'm fighting Cotto? I mean, what do you think the reaction is going to be? Do you think enough fans are just going to be fed up with the games and just not buy it? Or do you think it's just going to be like, oh, yeah, well, they'll never fight and just boxing goes on the way it was?
I feel like the fans created all of this hoopla. Manny and Floyd could have ran into each other at McDonald's, 5 miles away from each other, or, drove past each other on the LA freeway, and people would have been like, oh, well, they made a deal when they passed each other in traffic. You know what I mean? So I feel like the fans have kind of made this bigger than it really needs to be right now. If we were going to get an announcement, I feel like we would have already gotten it. At this point, I could be wrong, but I feel like I want this fight to happen. It needs to happen within the next year. I do think it's too late in some respects, because I think people have kind of been like, whatever, at this point, they're never going to fight each other. But I'm not expecting it to happen in May at all. So, maybe September, maybe May of next year, but I just don't see it happening, and I won't boycott it either way, because at this point, I truly believe that Floyd is waiting for that Showtime contract either to be one fight away from being up or being up, so that, God forbid he loses, in his mind, Showtime doesn't drop him. I don't see that totally happening, but I guess it would depend on how the fight will go.
Well, I mean, from a money point of view, if you think about it, I mean, the best thing for a fighter is to make more money in one fight than it would take him to fight two fights, right? Or how sometimes you say, well, I'm not going to fight, 3 easy fights or whatever. That was a bad choice when you mentioned Floyd. But, I don't want to fight 3 fights to equal X amount of money. I'd rather fight, 1 fight to equal the same amount. And in a way, that's what Floyd could achieve by fighting Manny Pacquiao now. So, it's almost like you throw the money factor out, and then what's left? There's the risk factor that he's not willing to do. And I just don't think that there's a name out there, even if he fought Miguel Cotto or Amir Khan. I mean, those are the only 2 names that I think people would accept from Floyd, but not now at this point. And remember something, Emily, this is a fight that does not actually have to be promoted the way any other fight. All they have to do is say, it's on, it's happening, and that's it. I mean, technically, everybody will start, the race to get tickets or whatever. Get ready to start saving for the pay-per-view because that's going to be outrageous, But it's not like they need that normal, 2-month promotional time.
No, you're right on that, but I just feel like we would have already gotten it if it was going to happen in May. I think you're right on the money. If he's going to get more money in the long run, this is the time to do it so that he can fight again. But at the same time, you're talking about a guy who's the highest paid athlete with no endorsements. So, he's going to make money regardless.
One last question. Does Bryant Jennings have a shot against Klitschko?
I don't think so. I mean, in terms of, maybe going some rounds, yeah, he can do that, but I don't see it going the distance. I would like to see Brian, be able to do something to him, but I just don't think it's in his cards. I don't think he's had even enough ring experience. I don't think would put him ahead of Klitschko. I just don't think it's there.
Hey, I remembered. It's tough. It's tough getting old, Emily. I remembered, all right? Gary Shaw. That's what I wanted to ask you. I'm not a big fan of Gary Shaw. I think he's, kind of a scum. And, the deal with Rock Nation. And, then as soon as he signs the deal with Rock Nation, the Jennings fight gets signed, and he wasn't happy with his percentage, and all of a sudden he backs out of the deal. What's your quick thoughts on that? Do you think he had a right to do that? Do you think he pulled the typical Gary Shaw deal, or what's your thoughts on that whole quick marriage and even quicker divorce?
Yeah, absolutely quick marriage. I was really kind of surprised to read that. But at the same time, I was there that night. I had heard from a few different people that there were people trying to reinvent the wheel. And that was my question that night, whether or not the people who were in charge of boxing were going to be allowed to do their job. And in some respects, I'm not sure that happened. We've only seen one fight from them. We've only seen a couple fighters signed by them. So I'm not really sure where things go for them. We haven't heard much more about Andre Ward since they signed him. So I'm not sold on Rock Nation yet. And for this to happen with them, yeah, I've known what Gary can do. I know what kind of individual he can be, but I want to think that there's probably more to it than just the Brian Jennings fight. There has to be, because there was a nice opportunity for him there, in my eyes anyways, for him to still be in boxing, to still do his thing, but not really have the pressure on him. And something more had to have gone on there. That's just my, my own personal opinion, the feelings that I get. So, in some respects, I think it was a good move for him. I'd like to see what Rock Nation can do with the gentlemen that they have in their positions for boxing. If they're allowed to do their jobs, they'll be successful, but I don't know if that's really what it is.
Nah, you know what it is? It's called greed, because he had to split his cut. And the funny thing is he's only had Jennings for... did they actually fight under maybe his last fight? Because Jennings was...
Yeah, I've only had him for one or two fights.
I'm thinking only one, because Jennings was with Main Events, for the first part.
Then it's only one fight.
Yeah, so I think that the Klitschko fight, Jennings must be making enough money that, Gary would have made substantially more not with Rock Nation. And you know what? I understand your point about Rock Nation and your concerns, but and even though I was wrong about 50 Cent, because I felt the same way, but I just have a feeling that Rock Nation is going to be okay. I think they're going to do this. I think they got a taste of, even though they're in the sports industry, I think that they got a taste of the boxing industry and how nothing is like any other type of business on the planet when you start talking about the boxing business, So yep. I think they got a taste of that, and they're just going to regroup. They have a pretty big war chest full of money, and I think they're going to be okay. I really do.
I hope you're right. I really do.
I've been known to be wrong. If I remember what the hell I want to say, But anyway, Emily, I appreciate your thoughts, and we'll look forward to you next week.
All right, have a good week, guys.
All right, take care. That's Emily Harney, boxing's best photographer. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a break. Hopefully the sound system will work.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on talkinboxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TALKINBOXING.com. And place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Hit Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh? What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly. Certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Glad you could join us. And speaking of join us, don't forget, man, follow us on Twitter. It's at Talkin' Boxing. That's TALKINBOXING. So if you're not following us already, do so. And while you're at it, join our Facebook groups. We got several of them, but one group is the Talking Boxing with Billy C show, and the other one, or maybe it just says Talking Boxing with Billy C. I don't know, but there's several different things that you can join on Facebook. So make sure you check that out. Carl Froch vacated the IBF title. He claims because he's injured or whatever. Listen, the bottom line is that he wants to fight Chavez. There's no question about that. And, I think that because he had the mandatory with James DeGale, I think that, he changed his mind or just said, I don't need no stinking IBF title or something. So I think that he made the smart move. The problem is that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Is scheduled to fight Andre Fonfara in April. So if Froch and Chavez Jr. fight, it's looking like it's going to be the summer. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Phone line is open, 845-228-8710. What's your thoughts on anything boxing? Today's question is, if Mayweather-Pacquiao doesn't happen in May, will you boycott these two guys and their next fights? Will either of them be able to come up with an opponent that would justify them fighting? Now, many of us believe that the fight wasn't going to happen in May anyway, but with all the stuff that's going on, and all of the interest and the he said, she said, and it's this guy's fault and that guy's fault, et cetera, are you willing as a boxing fan? And are you willing as a boxing fan to put your foot down and try to make something happen? Would you boycott Mayweather's next fight, which would be either against Cotto or who knows who else? But would you be willing to boycott those fights? But anyway, let me know your thoughts. I got someone on the line right now. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Billy, it's Nobody here. How are you?
Hey, how are you, man? What's going on? What do you think?
Doing well. I think that I'm not going to wait together, obviously. But I won't be very happy if the fight doesn't happen. It doesn't have to happen on May 2nd, but if it doesn't happen till September or something like that, I'd be pretty upset. If it happened in June or whatever, something like that, that wouldn't really bother me that much. But I wouldn't boycott. I would just be upset as a fan.
But let me.
Someone lesser.
I say, yeah, boycott, but I wouldn't be able to boycott it either. But my point is this, with all the discussion, how does it let's say that Mayweather, wanted to make the fight. Let's for a second here, let's turn the tables. The masses believe that it's all Mayweather's fault, right? So let's say that it wasn't. Let's say that it was actually the devil himself, Bob Arum, right? And they started this campaign just to make it difficult for Mayweather. Think of it this way: wouldn't it be a lot harder for fans to accept Floyd Mayweather to announce, "Oh, I'm fighting Cotto"? I mean, is there going to be the same type of excitement level, whatever he announces to any other name other than Manny Pacquiao. I mean, you see what I'm saying? It just even, in other words, I don't mind the Cotto rematch. I don't. I like it. I also like the Amir Khan fight against Floyd. But I don't like them now because of all the talk and the close, what appeared to be a close deal, which I still believe it will happen. But it just seems like even if they, unless they announce Triple G, which they'll never happen, I just think that it's anticlimactic,
Yeah, I mean, I think that if he announced Cotto, I would not be very happy with that because I felt like, even though Cotto was probably the closest to beating him, I don't really want to see that. I have no desire to see that fight again. And having it at middleweight, and when Cotto's not even a real middleweight, I don't really know that that's even something that's really to hang your hat on. So, and if Cotto were to beat him, I guess that would be okay. But then we definitely never see Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather. So, I mean, and I don't really believe Cotto's would beat him anyway. So for me, I agree with you. It would be anticlimactic for us to see Cotto versus Mayweather, and then we have to go through this again. And I feel like that would damage the fight ever happening ever. So to me, I feel like the fight will happen. It's just a matter of when. And then someone actually posted on Twitter. I forgot about this, but when Mayweather fought Guerrero, they didn't announce that till February 19th. So, we're still within the range of that time frame, and the fight was about that date was the Mexican holiday as well. So we're still, biting our nails in the time frame to actually get the fight done.
And look at it this way: they needed to promote Mayweather Guerrero way more than they would have to promote Mayweather Pacquiao. I mean, like I said earlier to Emily, all they have to do is announce the fight, and people are going to go berserk. It's going to be great. Now I do disagree with you. I do like the Cotto Mayweather rematch. I do like it, and the Amir Khan fight actually grew on me too. It's just that I don't want to see it now. I want to see the Pacquiao fight. That fight has to go and be over with. Because when you look at it, really, when push comes to shove, who else can Floyd fight? I mean, if you take those three names, those are really, and we're stretching, right? If you say, okay, you don't want to see Cotto. I don't mind seeing a Cotto rematch. So if you take those three names, and realistically, they're the biggest names in boxing for Floyd Mayweather, and that's what he's all about. So you take the three biggest names in boxing aside from Floyd is Manny Pacquiao, and within Floyd's weight class, I mean, because obviously Triple G. But you got aside from Floyd Mayweather, you got Manny Pacquiao, you got Miguel Cotto, and you have Amir Khan. I mean, those three fights could make a lot of money. It's just that I can't see people getting all excited about the Cotto or Khan fight right now.
I agree with you. I think Khan is premature. I think Khan has a lot of work to do, and he's spending a lot of time talking about all these people he wants to fight. He's talking about he wants to fight Cotto and all these other people, whatever. But he doesn't want to fight Brook in his own country. He doesn't want to be the best in his country when he could just go and make that fight and make a lot of money or whatever it is. I don't really buy Khan as a fighter, and I think that Floyd would be stupid to fight him at all. I like the idea of him obviously fighting Pacquiao. If he had to fight Cotto, that's fine, but I think he had to fight Pacquiao first. And I really think there's only three fights for Floyd really at this point in his career, in this point, and where he is as a boxer. He can fight Pacquiao, he can fight Cotto, he can fight Triple G, and that's it. There's no one else. No one else.
Forget literally. Triple G. He'll never fight Triple G.
We can forget Triple G. I'm just saying, if you had to push my arm and say, hey, who should Floyd fight? He could fight Triple G.
Well, and you're right. You're right. And if he was a true, all-time great, let me rephrase that. If he was if he had the mentality of a true all-time great, if he really wanted to show how great he was, he would try to fight a guy like Triple G, just like all the all-time greats before him, you know. But we realistically, I know people say, "Oh, Triple G," but he'll never fight Triple G. You know, he won't even fight Manny Pacquiao, and Manny Pacquiao's half his size. You know, so yeah, you know.
I mean, Triple G could happen. What if God forbid, you know, Pacquiao? Well, no, he can exit out of his contract. Actually, I just don't think the Triple G is that far out of reality, but I think that he would have to fight Pacquiao, he would have to fight Cotto, and no one else could arise that mattered, and then he might fight Triple G. But that's the only way. He's not going to go after him and fight him. That's not going to happen.
No, but you know, the funny thing about it, everybody always says that, you know, Floyd, he's just a little guy, but he's really not. You know, I mean, and Triple G is not a big middleweight. I mean, I think he's a smaller middleweight, and I never realized it until his last fight, and he just wasn't. You know, I mean, maybe it wasn't his last fight. It was the fight against the kid from Australia that he destroyed. You know, he just wasn't a big middleweight, and Triple G wasn't much bigger than him. You know, so I don't know. It's not like Chavez. You know, Chavez is a big guy.
Chavez
you know,
is huge.
Right? You know, so.
Big, I mean,
but anyway,
I mean, it's Triple G. I mean, Triple G is not. He has short arms, and he's like 5'9", 5'10". So, but he has a really big torso, and he has a lot of weight on him. So, you know, he's a legitimate middleweight, and you know, it would be an interesting fight if Floyd wanted to do that, if he had to do that. And I don't know. I don't think he's in that position, and I'm not 100% sure Triple G is going to beat Murray. I'm actually going with Murray, but you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. He has to fight Murray, and we'll see what happens from there.
Don't bet any money on it.
No, I wouldn't bet. I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I'm interested to see how Triple G deals with Murray. I know Murray doesn't have everything, but I feel like that kind of style will trouble Triple G, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. You know, maybe I'll put a couple dollars on it, but you know, I'm not totally sold on it, but I'm going to ride with Murray anyway.
Yeah. Well, you know, you better lay off the booze, buddy. You know, because I think something else is taking over your clear thinking. You know, but anyway, I appreciate the call, appreciate your opinion, and we'll look forward to you next time, my man.
Oh, one more thing. I agree. Jennings has no chance for Klitschko. I think people should bring a body bag, because he probably won't come out of there in very good shape.
What'd you say? Who?
People should probably buy a body bag for Jennings, because I don't see him coming out in very good shape after that fight.
You know, it's interesting, because I look at Bryant Jennings, and I can't help but think about Michael Spinks, and the reason being is Jennings' style is similar, and I've said this many times. To me, he has a combination of a Michael Spinks and a Vander Holyfield style, where he's awkward like Spinks, and you know, he's always in shape like a Vander. You know, he's not big like Spinks. You know, and if you remember when Spinks fought Larry Holmes, a lot of people argue with the decision, but you know, he was right in his face, and he was doing things that you wouldn't have thought him to do, because you would have thought he would have been kind of running around and keeping his distance and pock-shotting him, similar to the way David Hay fought. You know, but Bryant Jennings always comes in shape, and you think of Klitschko, he doesn't like to get hit. Fighters generally don't get in his face because he's of the jab and everything. But then there's one other factor. Klitschko, even though I thought that he came off the best performance that I ever watched against Pulov, I mean, he had some kind of bad intentions going, which I loved. And I got news for you: if Klitschko fought every one of his fights the way he fought Pulov, everybody would be loving Klitschko. He would be, you know, a big time favorite. You know, but I think that Klitschko, now he's a new father. And when you become a dad for the first time, your outlook on life changes. You know, you become, a little softer. You know, and coming off of that mean streak fight, and then going to fight a smaller guy that's about the size of his baby, you know, he might not hit him as hard. I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see.
The size of his baby.
Well, almost.
Maybe,
I mean, have you seen the size difference between these two guys?
Yeah, dude, he could. Jennings couldn't even have a solid stare down. I don't know what he's going to do. I'm scared. I'm really scared that he's going to really get hurt because I just can't see it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the only way Jennings wins that fight or has a chance is if Klitschko decides not to train. I mean, that's really it.
And that's not
happening.
And that's not going to happen. You know, the thing about Klitschko, whether you like him or not, the guy's always in shape and he's always prepared.
He is.
You know,
he's
so
his timing's great. Everything's great for
right.
him. And he's probably going to whiff Jennings really badly.
You know what? They're talking about him fighting Jennings and then Shannon Briggs, and then you could start the argument that, you know, he's really trying to, you know, not seeking out the best in the heavyweight division. I mean, not that the heavyweight division is chock full of talent, but I don't know. But
there's no one to fight him right now. I mean, we have to wait. Hopefully, Wilder fights him. And then
Wilder's not. Listen, Wilder's not going to fight him. I don't care what Wilder says. All these guys that are with Al Heyman say they want to fight these other fighters, and they don't. And the reason why they don't is because Al Heyman wants them to fight his own fighters. So you're going to see the Tyson Fury fight because it's a neutral guy. Okay. I think we'll see Deontay Wilder against Tyson Fury. I think that'll be the next fight for Wilder. But I do not think we will see Deontay against Klitschko, even though Klitschko because listen, Klitschko, a lot of people don't realize, but Klitschko and K2 Promotions, they're just as hard to deal with just as hard as a Top Rank or a Golden Boy or any other top promoter, you know, and you're going to have that same pissing contest between who's who. You know, Deontay Wilder's team is going to want to control it. They're not going to be able to control it over Klitschko, and that fight isn't going to happen. It's not. You watch.
And that's fine. I mean, it cannot happen. But I feel like if Fury beats Wilder, you know, I'm sure Fury and Klitschko will happen. If Wilder can not fight Klitschko, which would be amazing to me, then, you know, Klitschko probably should retire, or he can just keep fighting Bones, because I don't really see anyone in the heavyweight division that's really coming up to kind of beat him, and except for Tyson Fury or maybe Wilder. I mean, who else is there? Really?
Anthony Joshua.
Anthony Joshua's just too green. I don't think he's ready for
You're
it.
right.
You're
right. He's a couple of years away, so their paths probably won't cross. But listen, I like Tyson Fury, but I don't think that Tyson Fury can beat Klitschko. I do think that Tyson Fury could give Deontay Wilder some trouble, but my concern about Tyson Fury against Deontay Wilder is Deontay Wilder's punching power. We still don't know about his chin. That we don't know. But we know that he's got a jab. That we do know now. So it ought to be interesting. But anyway, I appreciate your thoughts, man.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks, Billy.
All right, take care. That's Nobody Here, our guy in the chat room that everyone loves to hate. So anyway, we had a bunch of people calling in while we were on the line before. So if you want to get on, the phone line is open, 845-228-8710. Chris Eubank Jr. and Dmitry Chudinov had a press conference last week. Their fight is taking place on February 28th. And this is what the two guys had to say. Dmitry Chudinov said, "This is a fantastic opportunity for me to defeat the son of one of the greats of boxing. Everyone in Russia knows that Chris Eubank. By beating his son, it will turn me into a national hero. Then I can go and get the super fights that I want, like against Triple G." He said he says Eubank talks a lot. I'm a man of few words, and I'll do my talking in the ring come the 28th. I'll do my talking with my fists, etc., etc. Chris Eubank says, "I'm glad to have met my adversary face-to-face, man-to-man. This is the first time I know what I'm up against. On paper, he's the interim world champion, the man I must beat to get to the belt. But now, having seen him face to face, and I look deep in his eyes, I see a man who's up against insurmountable odds. I think for once in a fight, the roles are reversed, and I'm coming off a good guy, and he's coming off the bad guy. I just want my country to be behind me, and I can't wait for this fight to happen. The fight is going to happen on February 28th. So joining me right now, he's going to be with us tomorrow when we talk about Packy McFarland, Alex Pali. What's up, man?
Hey, Billy Speed. How you doing?
I'm doing better. I wish I was back in Florida, but,
I was going to say, you must really not enjoyed going back to the deep freeze after that nice little taste of southern sunshine.
I tell you, we had a couple of really nice days down there. I mean, I only got to really be outside for about 2 hours for the whole week, total, but it was way nice. As a matter of fact, from what they're forecasting for us the rest of this week, I don't think I'm going to be going anywhere near outside.
Yeah, we're supposed to get another, I think Thursday, we're supposed to get another one of those clipper systems that, I don't know how many inches of snow they're talking, but I think it's, they just warn you by saying plowable snow. So
see, around here, I've learned they call anything up to 5 inches snow showers. So if they say snow showers, it could be.
Wow, that's pretty serious.
I know. It could be 1 inch. It could be 5 inches. But once it gets beyond 5 inches, then they start saying a snow front. And anything over 8 inches is a storm. So I mean, they handle the roads pretty well and all of that stuff. But you got to see how much snow. Well, you probably know because you guys have been getting hit. But the snow doesn't leave here. That's the one difference. It snows downstate. And then the sun comes out. It's above 30 and the snow melts. It's not around for a long time. But up here, it just doesn't go away. I don't think I'm going to see my lawn until probably May, So I don't know, man. But anyway, what's on your mind, brother?
Listen, I wanted to, speaking of southern sunshine, it reminded me just the other day, I don't know if you had seen the results there, Mike Perez stopped the Dingling man, Darnell Wilson, on Thursday night, and it reminded me of when we got to see him, we got to call that fight back in April of 2011, and there's a one-camera video of it. Mike Perez is a heavyweight. I mean, I think he's top 10 quality, so, the heavyweight division is what it is these days, but it's interesting when anybody in the top 10 fights, so to me, I definitely would encourage people to watch it. There is a single-camera video of it on YouTube, and it took place at Costa Mesa, California. Mike Perez stopped the Dingling man in 2 rounds. Now, the thing about it, Bill, that was impressive was some really hard body shots that, like right under right on the right side of the ribs, like under the heart. That Perez really hurts him with at the end of the first round. He makes it into the second, but barely, and then is stopped. You got to wonder if that's about all we're going to see from Darnell Wilson because, I mean, he's almost a 500 fighter at this point. It's only 2 knockout losses in a row, but since we've called that fight of his against Jason Gavern back in April of 2011, he has lost 6 of his last 7, 4 by knockout. So it does kind of seem like it's getting towards the end of the road, but I do encourage people to see it because, I like Mike Perez, and for him it was his first fight since losing to Bryant Jennings by split decision back in July.
First of all, send me the link because I did not see it yet, and I am interested. Second of all, I too like Mike Perez, and I think that Mago Abdulzamov fight took a toll on him more than we realized, than people realize. And by the sounds of it, I think he's gotten out of that gloomy point. He definitely didn't look himself in the fight prior to Jennings. Jennings' fight was a close fight. I just don't think he was busy enough, and it was a learning process. My only concern with a guy like Mike Perez is his size. With the complexion of the heavyweight division today, he seems to be small. But if he can do what you're describing that he did to the Dingling man, working a body, breaking him down, that's the trick to beating the bigger fighters. When one comment I'll say about the Dingling man, He's a tough guy. He really is. But considering that Jason Gavin beat him, I mean, to me, Jason Gavin is nothing close to being a professional level fighter, So
remember, that would have been interesting because they stopped it prematurely on a cut, remember?
Yeah.
And maybe things could have changed as they went on. But you're right. I mean, it wasn't... that was probably the highlight of Gavin's career, I would say.
Yeah, well, remember...
Well, he did go on to beat James Toney in a four-rounder, didn't he? In
that was the
prize fighter.
Yeah,
Toney?
The prize fight. Actually, he made it all the way to the finals in that. But some fighters, if you're a quick starter, if you can go quick, those types of tournaments work for you. But you remember the Jupiter, Florida thing we did on LDL TV was remember the promoter didn't have a canopy, over. We're out there baking in the sun. Who the hell knows what was going through the minds of those fighters? I mean, we were on fire sitting down. I could just imagine what the canvas must have been like.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I remember some of the fighters saying it was hot through the soles of their shoes. And I think Patty Alcivar posted a link to that recently, and she was putting some comments about it because they are on YouTube. And you're right. I mean, I think that was a factor too. That's something that doesn't happen. I guess it used to happen in Caesar's Palace fights back in the 70s and 80s, where if you were the corner that was looking into the sun, that was a potential disadvantage. You had to sort of deal with that. You're squinting through the whole fight, and I think the Dingling man was the corner in the sun in that fight. But they were both at better points in their career. So, I mean, I don't hold that loss necessarily against the Dingling man. But you're right, he's been in there with a lot of guys, and one of his best wins, I think, was quite a ways back in the rearview mirror against Emmanuel Nwodo, which was a come-from-behind knockout, and I think that was actually even at cruiserweight. Yeah, that was back in 2007, and then he had the loss to B.J. Flores, your favorite.
Oh, yeah, but that fight, I thought he won. That fight was the fight that I realized that Flores was a total fraud, because I thought that Darnell Wilson won that fight, and they robbed him, and his career from that fight on, his career took a total nosedive, if you look. Hey, you know who else was on, besides Patty Boom Boom Alcivar, you know who else was on? That actually turned out to be a pretty good night of boxing, or day of boxing, despite the three people in the stands. But you know who else was on that card, right?
Luis Ortiz.
Yeah. That was when he first came over as a heavyweight. Now he's suspended now for steroids. But we were all commenting on him. It would be interesting to. I should ask LDL TV to send me that fight so I can listen to our commentary on what we were saying about him, because I think if I recall correctly, we were saying, this guy, could be something, blah, blah, blah. And then he kind of shot up pretty quick after that.
Yeah, that was, his 8th fight, I think?
Yeah, it was pretty early. It was
pretty fight, something like that.
Yeah, it was pretty early on. And then wasn't that the same card that they introduced the next superstar from Sweden, right? Wasn't there? Was that the same card? There was like a heavyweight from Sweden.
There is. I'm looking at it right now on Boxing. Let's see. It's Sean Bennett. I wonder if that was him.
It was some fighter. He was like only in his second fight. It was a heavyweight, and he was from Sweden. And the promoter kept saying, "Oh yeah, this is the next superstar. Next superstar." I don't think he fought again after that. Maybe he did and lost. I forget his name, but he was from Sweden. It was in his second or third pro fight on that. And he was making some kind of history in
here
that.
He is, David Loy.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's
here
it.
He is. Yeah, he's 8-1. He did get stopped, knocked out in the first round in his 2 fights later.
Yeah, in the first real fight that he had, you mean?
Yeah.
Is he still fighting? When was his last fight?
His last fight was December 12th of 2014.
So he's still trying for that elusive Swedish heavyweight title, huh?
Yeah, he's from Hornbostrand, Sweden. sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. He's 8-1 with 3 stoppages.
Yeah, that's a hotbed for boxing, I heard, Sweden.
Yeah, his last fight was in Valencia, Spain. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I forgot about that guy. Yeah, that's right. He fought Justin Rigel. But yeah, anyway, so I just wanted to mention that Mike Perez fought, and I did think he looked good, and yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that he sort of exercised those demons of, worrying about, what your punches are going to do to someone. If you're going to keep fighting, you kind of got to let that go, because people are going to try to hurt you, and especially the heavyweight. Knockouts are what sells, and he did do. He finished Darnell Wilson pretty quickly. Wilson does a lot of complaining, so it's a good heavyweight fight. I mean, that's what you like, and that's the thing you get in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, well, you know what? Send me the link. And hey, have you had a chance to follow the new TV ratings I've been doing? I mean,
I did listen to yesterday. Yeah, and I kind of disagree with one thing you said yesterday.
That's it. I'm hanging up. No, go ahead.
You're hanging up.
No,
I kind of like that Todd Grisham kid. I think he's a breath of fresh air.
Oh, come on.
I think it's okay that he doesn't know all the ins and outs. He's more the transition guy.
Dude, when somebody asked him what a left hook was, he said, "Isn't that what you go fishing with?" I mean, come on. I like the way he sort of busts on Teddy. I think Joe Tessitore is a little too sycophantic sometimes with him. Well, here's the thing. Joe Tessitore is a sports guy. He does. I know you don't like other sports or don't follow him, but he's one of the best college football play-by-play guys you ever want to hear. I mean, he does a really good job. So
he was actually a Connecticut sports guy for a long time, and then moved solely back to ESPN.
Yeah, he's a sports guy. Todd Grisham doesn't seem like, and the same thing. Bernardo is so plastic. I mean, he's like a Barbie doll, and I've seen him, practicing before he goes on and stuff. I just, boxing needs boxing guys, and I'm not saying you got to have a crooked nose or you got to say D's and does and dems and stuff. I'm not saying that.
Well, that's what Teddy's there for.
Well, no, I know. Well, Teddy is the extreme. Because Teddy, my hang-up with Teddy is I think Teddy's, obviously he's knowledgeable, and I think he's funny, and I love his analogies sometimes, but where he really loses my respect in a sense is that, how many times do we use the word subjectivity in boxing, right? And just because you or I may have a different opinion on something, it doesn't make either one of us right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. And unless a fighter gets knocked out, that's really the only, fact. It's over. You lost the fight, you were counted out, And Teddy, if he feels, if he scores a fight for one fighter, and even if it's a 115 to 113 score, and the judges don't score it like him, it's a robbery. It's an outrage. We need a government to control boxing. I mean, if you don't agree with Teddy, you're wrong. He doesn't respect your opinion, and the more I look at that and see it, the worse it is for me.
No, yeah, I agree with you. He definitely is very authoritarian about especially when it comes to his fight card, his scorecard. And I think that's the thing that he should be most honest about, because he's not a judge. If you're talking about a fight, you're thinking about saying things that are interesting and pointing out things that are adding to the show. That you can't do that and score accurately. And he because you're not focused on who's winning and who's not. You need to completely focus on that. That's the one thing above all else that qualifies judges. They're supposed to be completely focused on the fight, to nothing else, no other distractions. Teddy can't do that because he's commenting. So the fact that he doesn't acknowledge that there might be other people's interpretation of each round, especially close rounds, yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's a knock on him. The other thing is that he's very repetitious. If he says location, 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 again, I'm going to puke. I mean, he says that almost every Friday night. He's like, this is when boxing's like real estate.
Yep.
It's location.
Yeah.
No, man, you say it every week.
You're right. He does. He uses that same thing too about real estate. Maybe he's taking his real estate test. I don't know. But I don't think
there's a lot of Teddyisms that I like the one where he says where he tells about going to use body punches to break some of those windows, like if you're standing as if you're standing tall as a skyscraper. And you just bang out the windows. I like that image. So a lot of them are good. I mean, that's why Teddy is fun to watch. But I think that's why maybe it's just that Grisham brings a new energy to it. But I've kind of enjoyed him.
See, I don't think he brings any energy. I think that when Teddy is carrying the commentating, and Grisham, he's in the studio now. And sometimes he's ringside. He's terrible. I don't know. I just don't listen. He's a radio TV guy, whatever. He's just not a boxing guy. That's my point.
But that's one of the things. He doesn't pretend like he is.
No, he doesn't.
If he was pretending like he was, it would annoy me because then he's a fraud. But he doesn't seem like that. He seems like he's there enjoying learning from Teddy and. Maybe he makes mistakes sometimes, but I don't think I don't know. I enjoy him.
That's funny because, generally we do agree, and I disagree. And how about the new blockhead they got, that other guy? I mean, he was bad, too, the guy doing the interviews.
Oh, Brian Campbell?
He looks like Baby Huey. Yeah, him.
He does have an interesting haircut, but I like him a lot. I follow him on Twitter, and I like his writing.
Yeah, well, listen, just because you're a good writer doesn't. Now, Steve Farhood, he's a great writer, and I love him. I mean, he does a great job, So, and he's a boxing guy. That's what I'm saying. In boxing, you need to know the sport. You can't just read off a teleprompter, and that's what they do. Grisham is reading off a teleprompter in the studio. When he's with Teddy, I don't know, but I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, I thought he did a pretty good job with that Deontay Wilder interview. I thought that was a lot better than a couple of weeks before when the other guy, I don't know.
Oh, yes.
I can't remember his name, but he did a really stale interview with Berman Stavern.
Yes.
And he even got things wrong. Like you had mentioned how he got he was saying to him, you're the favorite going into this. And he wasn't the favorite.
Right, exactly. Well, I think Grisham referred to Marvin Hagler as Hagler.
Oh, did he? Yeah. That's what I mean when I say mistakes. You're right. He has made a few things like that where, you could tell you get caught in his reading. And that if he thought about it for a second, I'm sure he would know that it's Hagler.
Yeah, but
because even if you're not a sports guy, but when you're in the moment, I'm sure he missed it.
Yeah, but there was
a couple of those.
That's what I'm saying. A boxing guy, you show 3 letters from Hagler. Marvin, all you got to do is put H-A-G, and I would know that you mean Hagler, listen, I just feel, and, as people and all of that, and just broadcasters, I don't, I'm not against them personally. It's just that what bothers me about the sport of boxing is that it's the only sport. I mean, it's the only sport that allows non-boxing people into its world. I mean, it's crazy, when you think about it. I mean, you could watch tennis, and who's involved? Former tennis people, or at least people that know the business. Baseball, football, basketball, same thing. Even fishing. You got fishing people that, boxing, not so much. I mean, I don't know.
I think because on its face, it appears to be the most rudimentary of sports. It's just 2 guys hitting each other in the head.
Yeah, but as well as I do, that's not fair. That's a it's not a fair assessment of the sport. And then you're factoring in that whole other dimension of new audiences and younger fans that have been brainwashed, and we see what happens. They put so much value in a belt, regardless of what belt it is, or an undefeated record, and you start really looking and analyzing at the state of the sport, and you can see why these types of people are allowed to even be in it, because they're dealing with an audience that's not as knowledgeable as it used to be,
Yeah, It's true, and I think that that's one of the things too, that there was a couple of problems in the last couple of weeks, because I think that Foxwoods card that I wish I had been there live, but that was that night I was sick. That was the two fights that sandwiched the Jeff Lacy fight, which was a horror. Were great fights. Those were great TV fights. But then you had a moment there where here's ESPN. I mean, I totally agree with you in the idea that it's almost like we're watching a work in progress. They're more than willing to experiment with boxing and their coverage. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think with that Jeff Lacy fight was a perfect example of not anything. It was just plain fraudulent in the way Teddy was objecting on air to that fight, and the fact that Lacy's a shot fighter. And as soon as the bell rang, it was apparent he's a shot fighter. But the fact was, it was on their air. They were airing it. They were giving it legitimacy. So I think I don't know. That to me, it's like you can't sort of pretend that you're clean by complaining about a fight that you just sold to the public. I mean, to me, that's a little bit too hypocritical. While at the same time, one thing I thought that ESPN did well, but again, you're right in terms of it does look like they're sort of experimenting. Is on Friday night they had a duller fight. That main event was just going to be dull. That's the way Sergio Mora fights. He's defensive. He's a stylist. He's not an action fighter by any means. One of the things they did is they keep in mind that they have fans that might not know a lot about the sport. So they were injecting those little segments there where that were taped of Teddy Atlas and Saul showing different moves, like how to use a jab and different things. I thought that was a good idea to do those things. But again, that might be good for a young fan who doesn't know those kind of things and might learn something. But an older, jaded fan, it's not going to make friends with them because they've heard it before. So you're right. I mean, it is sort of strange that we're sort of watching a work in progress with boxing, but maybe sometimes it does depend on the fights they are offering.
You know, you just make a great point, Alex, and it's almost like what I was saying to Emily before about, the direction it seems Al Heyman is going with his blueprint for the networks and who he's trying to attract in terms of sponsors, et cetera, et cetera. It's almost like they went against your own rule about dealing with diehard fans for the sport of boxing, and it's like they're targeting the casual boxing fan. I think ESPN is a good example of that because, some people that are ESPN, viewers, they have ESPN on their television, and whatever happens to be on ESPN, they're watching. So maybe, the numbers and the research has shown that that's the case, and they're trying to cater to those fans. You might have hit it right on the head. That would explain why, when they finally get a good thing going, that they abandon it. Like you mentioned. They experiment with things. Well, one of the greatest things, and I say great, and I mean it, that ESPN did, and they only did it once, was when they put the cameras on the judges, and they were able to show us a punch from all three views of the judges, and you could see where a judge's scorecard could be different. I mean, you and I know we've sat next to each other, and when a fight is happening in front of us, you see every punch. What was that? Oh man, did you see that? But when the fight's on the opposite side of the ring, even though we're ringside, it's a totally different view of a punch. Did it land? Did it miss? Did was there a quick counter that we missed? I mean, all of those things, if they utilized that type of camera, could answer a lot of questions, and they never went back to it, and I often wondered why.
You're right. I think those kind of things are definitely what they should go to more often, because I think that's, and I couldn't help. I had to go to the supermarket for my mom today. She's sick. I went and picked a few things up for her. And I was walking through the cereal aisle, and there I see a Wheaties box with a UFC fighter on the Wheaties box. I couldn't believe it.
Wow. I haven't seen...
I mean, I just was like, come on, really? I mean, was Ali on a Wheaties box? I think maybe at one point he was.
Sugar Ray...
But, I mean...
I think Sugar Ray Leonard was.
Was he?
I'm pretty sure Sugar Ray Leonard was on a Wheaties box, but I don't even. That's a good question.
I mean, and to me, it just was like, wow, look at that. And I wanted to. I almost paused, but I started to get so angry that I was just like, walk away. Just work the list. So
damn it! You said, damn it! I should have just went down the yogurt aisle. Why did I go down the cereal aisle?
And see, that's the thing about it, is that I'm sure these guys are fascinated by how popular and how quickly UFC and MMA got popular. So I'm sure that they probably are trying to apply some of those techniques, or trying to at least find out what works. Like, why won't it work for boxing? To me, they're different animals. The reason why I think the UFC gets the appeal it does is because it's new, it's violent. I think eventually, and we're starting to see, it seems to be fading with some of their drug scandals that they're having problems with. But I do think that that maybe that's one of the reasons why we're seeing it, is that they're scrambling around for why can't we make boxing more popular. I think one of the things they should need to do, I mean, ESPN, they're the worldwide leader of sport. Well, act like boxing's another sport that you cover. There are so many times there are knockout footage, that occur on their air that don't make it into the regular Sports Center broadcast. So to me, that's like they're ambivalent about boxing too. So until that changes, I mean, they could put all the different bells and whistles they want on a Friday night fight. I mean, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, but here's the thing. UFC, they were successful in forming and operating a league. And because of that, because they have that league juice, so to speak, they're able to cut deals. All of those deals, the Wheaties box deals, the different network deals, events, and et cetera, they have the strength and the juice of a league, similar to not as big as the NFL and Major League Baseball and NBA, but along the same lines. Boxing, they feel bad that they screwed up, and they have so many different claws into it. So that's, in a sense, what is happening today. They're all trying to branch off and form their own little world. Al Heyman is a great example of it. Golden Boy is a great example. Top Rank, they align themselves with a network, a sanctioning body, and their own fighters, and they're trying to do that. It may be impossible, but that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to capitalize on clear success from the UFC. So that's what I think is happening, and why they're doing it. And we always say, oh, it's so new, it's so new. Well, it's actually been around 20 years already, So, I mean, it's new compared to boxing, but sometimes I think quickly, oh, yeah, it's this new fad of MMA, but it has been around a long time. And, it's kind of like a combination of boxing and wrestling, and sort of what Rock Nation tried to present with their event, like more excitement. Who knows? It's a new generation, and they're looking for different things. One thing I want to add real quick before I let you go, back to ESPN, the fight that made that night, okay? Yes, Sergio Mora should not even be allowed to be on television. He's got to be. I really think I'd rather watch, grass grow or paint dry than him. I mean, he's never. I've never liked him as a fighter, not as a human being. But let me tell you, the follow-up fight that you missed at Foxwoods was the example of what boxing, in my opinion, should be.
Wasn't that a great fight?
Not only was it a great fight, Alex, not only was it a great fight itself, okay, but think about it. It was everything we have talked about, and it's the closest thing to back in the day that I've seen in a long time. It was a cross-rival fight. It was taking place in a place that was clearly packed and excited for that fight. The place was mobbed. Everybody was on their feet cheering, and the fight lived up to what the expectations were. I mean, that and Both fighters are young. It's not like they avoided each other. It's not like this was a fight. They're 20 and 2 each or something like that. They're young fighters and they fought each other. To me, that's the types of fights that made boxing so popular in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And if we got back to that today, and like if you go back to the beginning of the show when I asked about the tournaments, or we had an email that got me talking about the tournaments, that's really the closest thing, because you sign on to participate in one of these tournaments knowing that you got 7, 8 other people in the tournament that you could be matched with any one of those. So you can't say, oh, I'll fight that one but not this one. You can't do that. And to me, that's a level of excitement that you can't produce in any other way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It had that regional flair. The both New England guys, both on their way up. You had. I didn't realize they had fought 5 times as amateurs. I thought they only fought once as amateurs. So you had that long amateur rivalry going.
And Lamore won most of them, right? Lamore won.
Right. Yeah, I think he had won all 5, and then. Yeah, so then Fallow, or he had won 4 and Fallow won 1.
Right, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was. That was definitely a good fight, and you're right. It's those, and that fight that CES had put together a month earlier with Perez. I can't remember who now the last name of the guy, but that was another 2 young fighters who were. Matched against each other early in their career. So a thing that, a lot of promoters tend to shy away from, but it does make good fights.
Yeah, no, to me, that's what the sport is about. And if we had more fighters willing to do that early in their careers and continue to do that, as long as we could keep them safe, I think that would change it. And one last thing, I don't know if you caught it on the show yesterday. But an interesting thing happened that you might be interested in. I'm not going to mention the names or anything like that, but for some reason I'm on the list for all these commissioners, okay? And I got an email that was sent out to all the boxing commissioners across the United States and me, which I don't understand. Anyway, they are now producing a list of fighters that should not that they're reaching out to each other. Now I always thought that the ABC was supposed to do this, but they're actually taking it a step further and reaching out to each other and trying to communicate with literally a list, which I have, and I could actually send you if you want, of fighters that they feel should not fight. And most of them are 40 years old and older, coming off of multiple losses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's something we had talked about a couple of weeks ago. If the fighter isn't going to take care of themselves, if their manager and promoter is not going to take care of them, well, maybe now some of these commissioners are starting to realize that they got to step up and do it. What's your quick thoughts?
My quick thoughts is I like it. I'm a little concerned about it because, of course, it does get right. It's right on the edge there of taking away a guy's liberty and a guy's right or a woman's right to earn a living as a fighter.
But wait a minute. That was my argument when we were.
No, I agree with you. And I think that's certainly something we should think about. But I think it's absolutely wrong to pretend we don't all have a responsibility in who we allow to do this.
But wait. Let me just
get to a point where you have to draw the line.
I know, but let me just make sure you understand. It's not like a Castillo situation where the guy was winning a couple of fights and not really looking bad. These are fighters that have lost 9 in a row, 9 knockouts, over the last 2 years. These are guys that have totally upside down records. I mean, like total 100% opponents that have just human punching bags. I think it's a different case.
In any case, I think we should be very careful in who we decide you can't fight anymore. But you're right. I mean, that sounds perfectly legitimate to me. It makes sense that there should be something like that where there's some level of humanity about what we're, greed can't run the show here. And I think that's what you kind of saw in that case of that Jeff Lacy thing, and that's why you can't help but say that because TV networks have a lot of power in what they say is a fight of significance and what isn't, that they knew that Jeff Lacy's a name. Look at him; he still looks great.
I was just going to say, you're right. He still looks great. So it's tough.
But you see him walk out in the ring. Look how spongy his legs are. You could tell even before he threw a punch there was something not right. You could see a shot fighter. So I think that it doesn't. It concerns me. I do think it's a good idea. It's a better idea than doing nothing. But yes, I'd be very curious as to how it's applied. I would hope that they'll take a little more care and look into each individual case more thoroughly than just say, well, this guy lost 9 fights in a row. Because sometimes a guy who lost 9 split decisions in a row.
No, these are all by knockout, and these are all 40-year-old fighters and above.
Okay, yeah.
So I mean, there is criteria. Your same concerns that you were talking about with Castilla before I mentioned the livelihood thing. But listen, I got to wrap it up. Alex, I'll look forward to your segment tomorrow on Packy McFarland, brother.
Sounds great, Billy C. Take care.
All right, that's Alex Pali. And now it's time for the...
Wake up. It's time for the... It's too early for a trivia question.
Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is being brought to us by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino and their next boxing event, which is taking place on February 20th. Now, if you get this answer correct, you're going to win a pair of tickets to that event. Here's the hint, you're going to get it right. It's a who am I question. I made 2 consecutive title defenses against 2 different fighters with the same name. Who am I? Here's the deal. This guy's name, first of all, it's a lightweight, former lightweight champion. And yesterday I gave you another hint that he didn't fight another lightweight champion that was a champ during the time he was. And I said they lived close to each other. Well, today I'm going to give you a hint that's going to pretty much secure your victory. So the first person to email me the correct answer will win a pair of tickets to the Turning Stone event on February 20th. I made 2 consecutive title defenses against 2 different fighters with the same name. Who am I? He was a former lightweight champ, and the guy that he never fought, well, I'm not going to tell you who he was, but both these guys lived in the state of Ohio. Email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by the April 3rd event by China Smith Boxing in Sarasota, Florida. So get yourself some tickets to that by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and clicking on the fight poster. On this day, February 10th, in 1993, Chana Porpioing wins a 12-round decision over Hideki Ohasha to win the WBA World Strawweight title. It took place in Tokyo. On this day in 1894, George Kid Levine and Young Griffo fight to an 8-round draw in their fight that took place in Chicago. On this day in 1922, Benny Leonard wins a 15-round decision over Rocky Kansas to retain his world lightweight title. It took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City. And finally, on this day, February 10th in 1908, Tommy Burns knocks out Jack Palmer in the 4th round to retain his world heavyweight title, and that took place in London. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. I got one more thing to leave you with. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow evening, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.